In the beginning of 1346, Alexander realized that he didn't want to miss out on his daughter's life anymore. He went into the city and started asking anyone if they knew a Rose Raidmaker. There was a law enforcer nearby who told Alexander that Rose Raidmaker had died in childbirth, and a few years later, her daughter was murdered by her father. He told Alexander that Alban Raidmaker fled the country and no one has heard of him since. Alexander was heartbroken. He didn't realize when he lost contact with his daughter all those years ago that he would never talk to her again. In Jordan's house, it was time for Warina to give birth. She gave birth to a boy named Arthur. Let's roll for Warina. She lives. Let's roll for Arthur. He lives. It was also time for Adelaide to give birth in Henry's house. She gave birth to a girl named Elizabeth. Let's roll for Adelaide. She lives. Let's roll for Elizabeth. She lives. In Benedict's house, Temperance found out she was pregnant. After their marriage was rocky, they had abstained from having any more kids. Temperance was concerned that being pregnant would cause their marriage to suffer once more. In Annabel's house, she had given birth to a baby boy named David. Let's roll for Annabel. She dies. Let's roll for David. He lives. Farley was devastated. He had lost the love of his life, but vowed to look after their children the way she would have wanted. In our main household, Marilyn found out she was pregnant. Everard was so happy that their family was growing. He only hoped that both Marilyn and the baby would live. On that same day, Jordan and Warina were aging into young adults. Let's roll for Jordan. He lives. Let's roll for Warina. She lives. It was also Catherine, Paul's wife's birthday. Let's roll for her. She dies. It was also time for Arthur and Elizabeth to age up. Let's roll for Arthur. He lives. Let's roll for Elizabeth. She lives. Here is what they look like. In Italy, Eleanor went into labor and gave birth to a boy. Let's roll for Eleanor. She lives. Let's roll for Clarice. He dies. It was also time for Sophia to become a toddler. Let's roll for her. She lives. Here is what she looks like. Eleanor and Milo were so upset at the loss of their son. It was also time to age David into an infant. Let's roll for him. He lives. Here is what he looks like. At the end of the year, it was time for Nally to get married. She got married to a man named Arnold Gresham. It was also time for Temperance to give birth. She gave birth to another boy named Benedict II. Let's roll for Temperance. She lives. Let's roll for Benedict II. He lives. It was also time for Genevieve in our main household to become a toddler. Let's roll for her. She lives. Here is what she looks like. In the last final parts of the year, it was time for Alban to become an adult. Let's roll for him. He lives. He had fled to Ireland after he murdered his child and had completely drowned himself in mead. He couldn't think about surviving much longer. Hello, I made a mistake when Annabel and Farley got married and never added him or his birthdays to my spreadsheet. He was supposed to become a young adult in 1344. Let's roll for him now to see if he survives. He lives.